Hey everybody, welcome to a new chapter of Old Man Brad. Whether you are new to the show or returning for another chapter, thank you so much for giving this little horror podcast a listen. And if you love the show, drop me a review over on your favorite podcatcher, whether that's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Good Pods, whatever it may be. I would love to hear what you think of the show. This chapter, I have another fantastic interview for you guys. I had a chance to chat with the Butler brothers, Brett and Jason Butler. They are the writers and directors of upcoming film Purgatory Jack. I also talked to one of the stars of the movie, Alexandra Beaton, and I can't wait for you guys to hear that chat. It was a great discussion. Before we move into that interview, I just want to tell you to come out to the Esquire Theater on the third Friday of the month for Frightful Fridays. Every month, I host a horror screening. Recently, we've done movies like Leprechaun, Demon Knight, Blood Rage. We did Haunt, Candy Corn. We've done a whole bunch of movies. But yes, watch for it. Third Friday of the month. Let's watch some movies together. So Purgatory Jack, I'm going to give you just some quick spoiler-free thoughts for you on the film. Like I said, it is written and directed by the Butler brothers. Follows Jack Marlin, a private detective, as he works on a new case. He has to help a pop star find her mother, who committed suicide 20 years earlier. It stars Tim Rosen, who many would know from Winona Earp. I know it is getting ready to come back exclusively on Tubi. Also stars Alexandra Beaton, Emily Alatalo, Joel Thomas Hines, and many others. Like the description said, it's a private detective, but it is very like neo-noir. It kind of has that old, the old private eye noir feel to it. It's honestly, it's just missing that voiceover that you hear when someone's on the case kind of thing. But I enjoyed this movie. I loved how it mixed some styles together. You're in purgatory. He is a private detective trying to figure out this case, but it's very sci-fi-esque with horror elements, many other things going on. There's great use of like colors in music throughout this movie. All the characters, everybody involved did a fantastic job. I truly did enjoy this and definitely would tell you to watch for Purgatory Jack. It is on its festival run right now. So if it's playing at a festival, a film fest, or a horror convention that does a film fest or anything like that, watch for it. Watch for Purgatory Jack. And if it is, go check it out there. If not, watch for it coming to, streaming and all that later on. But enough about me just chatting away. Let's move into my interview with Brett and Jason Butler and Alexandra Beaton. And I will talk to you on the other side. Hey everybody, like I said at the top of the show, I have writers and director Brett and Jason Butler and Alexandra Beaton, who plays Viv in the film, here to talk with me. How are you all doing today?
Doing really well.
Excellent. Yeah. Glad to be on the show.
Yeah, killing it, as usual.
Now, Brett and Jason, I want to know, how did you come up with the idea for Purgatory Jack?
Our first kind of idea was we wanted to do a hard-boiled detective story. And then our thoughts was kind of in the idea of missing sex workers. And then somehow we took a little detour and ended up in the Purg. I don't know, the acid-laced coffees. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty accurate assessment. I think, why did we end up in purgatory? I think we just wanted to, because we'd never done a noir type film before, and it was like this mystery and this sort of, you had to disseminate information. And I think at some point we realized it's easier if we just set it in a world where we can make up our own rules, and then therefore we can put it all together in pieces easier. So because we're making up their own rules in purgatory, so fun.
I think, too, was when we were discussing the idea of the missing sex workers was that we didn't have the full information, or maybe we didn't feel totally correct telling that story. So we did think about doing it more allegorically with the missing musicians, female musicians. And that kind of led us into the idea of Purgatory and what that would mean for that, and kind of elevating the story that way.
And Alex, how did you come into this project? Did you read it and you're like, oh, this sounds interesting?
Yeah, so I got it through my agent, Michael White, who's amazing. And we had kind of a gut check at the beginning of the year, and I really wanted to work on something like this and something that had some substance to it, not any shade to anything else I had auditioned or read that year. But this came across, as it normally does, as an audition. I really liked the character, obviously, and I really liked the premise. And I think I did 2 auditions for you guys on tape that way, which was really fun.
And how did you come to the role of Viv? Like, you know, before you started, you know, you've read the script, you kind of knew what the character was like, but coming in, was there anything that you brought on your own to say, hey, I want to kind of make her a little like this?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think the way I work is I always try to find similarities with a character first, and Viv was already so fleshed out, which was incredibly helpful. I think kind of the part where I really connected with her is obviously she's serious and she is really passionate about what she does, but she also has an underlying sense of humor and an awareness of where she is and what she wants and what she's moving through. So I really tried to connect with these moments where she's like, okay, especially in Purgatory, like this is a bit crazy. Like this is really wild. I think especially the scene with like the people drinking the blue stuff and the cultists like, in the van, it's a really prevalent moment. But I think I brought a little more humor to her, or I hope I did anyway.
And you guys, I mean, you made, you know, that hard-boiled noir type of film that's much different. There's a lot more to it than that. Did you guys ever intend to, because there are many scenes I see it and I definitely see that noirness to it and going, oh, the way this is lit, the way this is set up and everything else, like the old black and white. Did you ever possibly think of going a black and white route, or was it always like, you know what, we're going to make it colorful and stuff like that?
Yeah, I mean, we definitely batted that around. But I think we did have, there is a bit of a camp aspect to the whole film as well. And, you know, we're influenced by a lot of different films, you know, the old school noirs, but also the stuff of like Walter Hill, like Warriors and Streets of Fire and that kind of more comic book style. So we definitely wanted to kind of lean into those colors and have fun with that. And it was awesome with the cinematographer, Daniel Everett Locke, production designer, Allie Thompson, and we all kind of came together to build this world. So that's why we just have the touch of the black and white in the old school driving sequences that we really wanted to give that 50s, 60s vibe, which Jack Marlin's from.
Accurate. All accurate.
And music played a big part in this film. Can you speak to like how you integrated, you know, the different songs, because there are very different eras of music as you're kind of going through too.
Yeah, I think that's the fun aspect again of Purgatory, and sort of, you know, as I alluded to earlier about making up our own rules. One of the things we became aware of is, Purgatory is like this vast world that starts somewhere way before and will continue on. And we're just like this small little French fry length inside of it. So it's like, all these people in Purgatory, they could be from different eras. So let's have fun with that in terms of the music. Let the music sort of dictate, when this person's from. So it just, you know, in a way, it opens up a sort of a Pandora's box. And then it's sort of our job to make decisions and dial it in and hope they're great decisions at the end of the day. So it was really fun with the music. We love music in general. We love all types of music. So it was kind of fun to get in there and noodle.
Yeah, it's kind of like in trying to think of the characters. So that whole song at the beginning, Since You've Been Gone, when Jack Marlin's dancing, it's like the idea that's what probably his parents introduced him to jazz music that he was listening to growing up. And that's how it became, you know, a big jazz player. And then same idea with Vivacious is when she's coming around, it's, you know, it's the Rough Trade, Carol Pope. It's that 85 kind of early 80s music that probably her mom introduced her to, that is influencing her life. And so we just really wanted to do that and have like a very eclectic soundtrack. And Easter egg, when Plater comes in, the introduction of his character, that's actually a song by Joel Thomas Hines. bad boy. So he has a song introducing his own character in this movie.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah. We didn't tell him till he saw it.
Yeah. I think we melted his brain on that one. It's pretty sweet.
Now, this is kind of for all of you. Did you come across any challenges while making this movie? You guys as filmmakers, and Alex, you as an actress in the film. Were there any challenges? Because usually it's smaller, more of an indie size. There's a lot of things.
No way. We're the first film in the history of filmmaking that was perfect. Not one. It was just exactly as we dreamt of. 100%.
Completely.
That's right, Alex. Don't you forget it.
On my end, Viv is a pretty physical character, and so I think convincing our first AD to actually let me do all the physical stuff. I know, for example, like he couldn't believe I wanted to be dunked every time in the water. Like we did it quite a bit, and for me, like it's much easier to actually not act. So I'd rather it be actually happening to me, and then I can just respond to it. But I wouldn't necessarily call that a challenge. It's fun to do, and I like acting that way. But I always relate more to physical characters because of my background as a dancer as well. It just really helps to live in their body. And with Viv, it was everything from her walk to like how she holds her mouth.
It was really challenging filling up the pee bucket that we dunked Alex in with actual pee. We spent a whole day just drinking liquid and just peeing. And it really cut into our time actually filming. But, yeah, that's what you got to do to get the performance.
Realistic as possible.
I mean, obviously there's tons of issues. You're dealing with a certain amount of days. And, Brett and I try and build in a lot of contingencies in case things go wrong, because it's not our first rodeo. But we're wise enough to know that filmmaking is essentially, problem solving every day. One of the things that Alex was talking about was, simple stuff like, remember, actor wanted person to explain to you how to walk up the stairs, because in the script it's like she, hustles up the stairs or something, and actor's like, well, that sounds pretty stunty, and so there's a constant push and pull where that stuff takes time. If you suddenly have to have a stunt coordinator on there to explain to Alex how to walk up a staircase briskly, you're just slowing down content where you can actually be filming it. So, I mean, that's just one example. So there was tons of physical stuff where, I'd say 98% of the time the actor is capable of doing it and wants to do it. And then you're kind of, fighting the union, especially on, a budget like this and a timeline like ours. It's like, okay, well, we can't spend 3 hours, coordinating this. We just got to rely on the built-in skill sets and talents of our actors on this, and then convince the union that that's okay. So, I mean, that was one thing. Brett, I'm sure there's others.
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty. There's a pretty ambitious script in terms of to get it done in the time frame. But one thing I was just thinking about was it was a hard search for the Jack Marlin car, and we wanted something specific, which was like a 60s blue convertible, and we had been looking for ever and trying to locate one. And we were shooting in North Bay, Ontario, and Jay and I heard about this car club that met at this coffee shop every day at 3. So we stalked this car club, ended up talking to these guys, and got a number of cars from the movie from this stalking episode. But that Mustang, although how good it looks, was a bastard. It was always stopping and stalling and having so many issues. So it was a tough actor to work with. But I mean, that was just one of those goofy things. But I think it comes across pretty well on screen, which is the main thing.
When did you guys film Purgatory Jack? I'm kind of at that cutoff of like, we had challenge of COVID shutdowns and everything else. Like, did you have any of those challenges?
Yeah, the tail end of that, I'd say. We still had to follow COVID protocols on set. So that was, I guess, spring 2022.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, every day you had to, or every 3 days you had to do a test, and everyone was masked. And if you weren't acting, you were masked up. Yeah, that was a challenge as well. I think we had when we had the big fight sequence, we were bringing in a bunch of stunters from Toronto, and one of them tested positive for COVID. So that was a whole thing or do, because and we lucked out because they were traveling with a bunch of other people in a car, and we're like, oh no.
We were like, why didn't you test before you got in the car?
Yeah, how about that? So yeah, but I mean, I guess our production manager Jack English was happy because she got to slip in as a little stunt coordinator type thing. So she was happy. But yeah, so that's when we filmed it. So COVID was a thing. I think we were worried about Tim the one day. He wasn't feeling good. And we're like, no. So we had to shoot things kind of out of sequence, and that was like again a timing issue. We had 2 days to do all that big battle stuff, and he was feeling sick halfway through day one. So we had to be like, okay, we're gonna stop this part, circle back, do this now with whoever's here. So
run him out of the studio.
Yeah, but play it real cool. Run him, but cool like this is exactly, we planned this.
This is how he likes to leave.
This is how he likes to leave, Cloak and Dagger style.
As you were filming this, do you have any favorite scenes, whether you're setting up, whether you're acting in them, whether you're directing them, any kind of favorite pieces of this movie throughout the shoot that you just loved?
I know I've mentioned it before, but the cult scene in the truck is one of my favorites. Tim and I also had a very fun 9-page dialogue scene that we filmed continuously. So we blocked it out, I think that for maybe an hour and a half, and then we ran it a couple of times as well, just the full scene. And that's so fun to do as an actor. And you never really get to do that, especially just with how filming is now. Mm-hmm. But being able to really just like live in that 9-page scene is so fun. And it takes place in Tim's apartment with the clocks as the background and things like that. So it was really, really fun.
Yeah, I was thinking about that too, because that was, I think, Tim's first day, your second day on set. The way we were doing the setups, it was very graphic novel-y, so there wasn't a lot of setups. So it was, I think, where the actors get to perform in front of the camera, and you're not like changing, like doing it just like a little bits here and there. But seeing that and running the scene, even just the first time, and it's like this big, like, yes, we got the 2 right people for these parts. This is going to be amazing. And we're rolling. We're off to the races at that point. So that was really cool.
Yeah.
Also nice of them to let us do it on our second day, so we didn't have to work up to it halfway through the filming schedule.
Didn't have it weighing on your mind the entire shoot. That's huge pressure. Yeah, get it out of the way. I mean, we established what we're doing pretty early on that way. You know, I think we're honest. I think beforehand, Alex, we were sort of saying like we do sort of, for lack of a better term, make the actors act. No cheats, no tight closes every 4 seconds to get stuff. So, I think a lot of actors, they don't believe it until they actually, see it in action. So, yeah, it was good to get that done. I really liked the first day, when we were walking out of the rock pile and stuff like that. I was like, oh, this is going to work. This is cool. I don't think you were there for the part where we were trying to get the ATV with a guy on a bicycle and a flag come down the side of the
I'm pretty sure they were putting a bunch of nuts and bolts in my hair.
Right. The hairdo. Yes, the hairdo. That's sort of, landing the hairdo was nice. We're like, okay, you start feeling it. Like It's all coming together. You don't know about the hair until the hair's happening on set. It's, again, we didn't have the opportunity to sort of rehearse the hairstyle weeks in advance. It was sort of, is this it? Do we like this? Add some bolts. Now we got some zazz. It's plumed up. We got something. We got a look.
Did it take a while to get the nuts and bolts and the hair together?
The hair took a pretty significant amount of time, especially on the first day when you're trying to set it. But I will say we had the most amazing hair and makeup team, and we kind of figured out a way, especially when it's not like I could go home and sleep on that. So they would always put my hair back in like a protective style, but they wouldn't necessarily take out the tease. So we figured out a really nice way to make it work. And it's such an important part of her character and such like a fun look. So everybody was really committed to making it work.
Yeah, I was going to say too, it was really cool the day we did in front of the Deadhead garage, where it's all like the guys on the gang on ATVs and stuff like that. And again, we're trying to figure out how we're going to get this on our budget level, and we connected with ATV clubs in the area, and they were so excited. They were coming from like 3 hours away, like losing money to come out and do this, but they were just so jacked, driving around. They were like taking shots, like. I think it was one of the greatest days of their lives.
I didn't even know that there was such a thing as an ATV club.
There is in Northern Ontario, 100%. Plenty of them.
Because it felt very kind of like a Sons of Anarchy type of like, as you're coming in, they all got their jackets on and everything else as you're rolling in. Yeah, I had no idea there were clubs.
So they got to have their club and then be in like a club and a gang. It was like next level for them.
So what's the future for Purgatory Jack? I know you've done some festivals, kind of running through festivals and stuff like that. Like, what's its future look like? Still festival runs, or is it going to be coming to everybody soon?
Yeah, I think, we got a lot of festivals lined up for this kind of springtime into summer. We'd probably be looking at maybe a full release in the fall, like to the public, hopefully theatrical and streamers and that kind of thing. But I kind of keep playing it out in festivals. I mean, it's our first time in the horror genre, and just the audience and the community. So cool. We just want to keep getting out there and hanging.
Yeah, let's get fed. This is the part where Brett and I get to enjoy it. You know, usually we're whiling away for months beforehand. Then the actual production is so tiny. It's super stressful leading up to it. The production itself is just the smallest portion. And then, you know, we're back hibernating again, putting it all together. Then you birth it to the world. And so we get to sort of, you know, this is our real chance to sort of just enjoy it. And, you know, be there for live audiences, see how they respond to different parts, who likes what. It's just sort of satisfying. And then it's back to the grindstone again. So, yeah, it should be a good run.
I mean, a horror community is, I mean, it's a big family. I mean, I was just at Horror Hound this past weekend where you guys screened it there, and everybody's there for a common thing. We just love horror movies. Everybody's just so friendly. Kind of wish you guys could have been there and experienced it out here, but I'm sure it's similar in many others.
Yeah, I would have loved to be there. Yeah, we've started working on a prequel graphic novel for Purgatory Jack.
What's next for all of you guys? Obviously, you have a big festival runs for this right now, so that's probably taking up a lot of your time.
Well, we can always squeeze in time to do more work. Actually, Brett and I just wrapped on a feature, like 3-4 weeks ago, Brett?
Yeah, maybe less.
Yeah, and then we have another feature that's just in the final stages of post that we shot last February. Yeah, we got a lot of stuff on the burner still coming out, so we want to strike while the iron's hot. And
are you staying in the horror genre, or are you?
One's more like a social, political sort of vein, and that was shot. It's about a COVID hotel courier, and we shot that sort of again at the tail end of COVID. And that, you know, but it's got the sort of Butler flavor to it, which means a little bit of dark comedy mixed in with some sort of serious social context and commentary. And then the one we shot 3-4 weeks ago is a little more horror genre again, because we dabbled in that. We really liked it, so we're like, yeah, let's do our thing. I think we can carve out our little sort of corner in this area. Brett, do you want to tell them about it?
Yeah, I guess briefly, it's called the Last Anniversary. It's the last day on Earth, and couples having their 10-year wedding anniversary at the hotel where they were married, and the maid of honor disappeared and was never to be found again. And they've got word that she had been raped and murdered by people in the wedding party. So they're having everybody back there to weed out the guilty parties and serve up vengeance before the world ends. And the hotel is haunted by the former maid of honor.
You hooked me. I can't wait to see this.
Nice.
And I'm going to have you guys back to talk about it when it comes out.
Sounds good.
Alex, what about you? What do you have coming up?
I have a show on CW right now called Ride. It's the complete opposite of the Vivacious character. She is a country cowgirl. So if you want to watch that, you can catch it on CW.
I want to thank all three of you for taking the time out of your day and chatting with me, and I wish you nothing but the best with Purgatory Jack. I'm going to tell people to go check it out, to watch for it coming soon, and look forward to what you guys have coming next.
Yeah.
All right. Appreciate it. Thanks, Fred. Appreciate it.
Right.
I want to thank all three of them for chatting with me again. It was such a blast. I can't thank them enough for, taking time out of their day just to chat with me. Watch for Purgatory Jack. Just watch for it coming out in the future. All right, before we move on out, I have a couple movies for you to watch at home. One, it might be a little difficult to find. I just got it on DVD, called Bone Jangles. And this is a horror comedy that is wild. It feels like it was made for me. It is silly, stupid. It has just dumb comedy. It has a lot of bloody moments. And the film itself has so much packed into it. It's going all over the place. There are times where I couldn't always keep up, but in the end, I was like, holy crap, I really enjoyed my time with this. And I would suggest watching or trying to find Bone Jangles if you just like silly, stupid, all over the place indie horror films. The other one is I just recently got to watch Immaculate, which came out on VOD, starring Sydney Sweeney. This was pretty good. Overall, I like Sydney Sweeney. She knocked it out of the park in this movie, especially, gosh, the last half hour of this film is pretty intense, and she killed it. The rest of it was a little, it almost felt kind of been there, done that in a way, but not in a bad way. It was still very enjoyable. And I got to the end, you know, your crazy dark nun film with dark elements and everything else. I don't want to give a single thing away, because if you watch Immaculate, I want you to go in completely blind on this. Just know Sydney Sweeney plays a nun in it. She does a fantastic job in it. And it has a nice little, I will give it the twist on what the quote unquote entity is in the film. But yeah, go check out Immaculate. I would love to know what you thought of the movie. Well, that will do it for another chapter of Old Man Brad. If you are a fan of the show, you can become a patron over at patreon.com/oldmanbrad. Over there, you get extra content, and we have some great things coming up here in the future. For those of you who are patrons, thank you so much for supporting the show. Just make sure you subscribe to the show so you never miss any episode of Old Man Brad. I will be back soon with a brand new chapter. Just snuggle up in that blanket, turn off the lights, because it's okay to be scared. We'll talk to you later, everybody.